Hi, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Shop Chats. It has been a while. So cheers to that, and welcome. I am Chloe Rose of Chloe Mystic Arts, and I invite you to join me with your favourite beverage of choice for this intimate and candid and no judgment zone conversation. Feel free to pause now and grab your favourite drink. So, I wanted to talk today about my transformational journey with my relationship towards food. Disclaimer: I am not here to tell anyone how they should eat or what their relationship with food should be like, but I do want to share my journey and my own choices towards how I relate to not only food, but my body and towards the earth, because it has been quite the journey. I was actually planning on filming this video outside today, but I went outside and the wind was just absolutely crazy, whipping about all over the place. So I'm here in my beautiful little office space, and I believe everything happens for a reason. So it's turned into a coffee shop chat, and it's really interesting because this is a conversation all about food and beverages. 4 years ago, you would not catch me dead drinking a coffee. I was anti-stimulants. Now I enjoy a coffee. I recognise coffee for the stimulant that it is. I do feel the caffeine when I drink a coffee. However, I love the taste of coffee. I appreciate coffee that has been grown in a fair trade environment, that is organic, that is made with love and care. And I sometimes enjoy the stimulation of coffee. I appreciate the benefits that it has for my mental clarity and focus. And you know what? Coffee sometimes just really helps me to get shit done. For someone who is on the spectrum of neurodivergence, coffee sometimes can just be exactly what I need. However, gone are the days where I could not survive a day without a constant drip of coffee. I feel quite lucky now. I mean, I don't drink coffee every day, and if I do drink coffee, it will be 1 cup max. Whereas before it could easily be like 3-4 coffees in a day. Luckily now, if I drink too much coffee, I get a headache and I feel nauseous. So that is my body being like, this is way too many stimulants for me to handle. Can't do it on an empty stomach either. So that's just the beginning of how my journey has changed and transformed. So cheers to that. And I would say that as I'm evolving and as I'm growing older in this lifetime and in this human experience, my own relationship towards not only food but everything within my life, but also towards other people, has become increasingly fluid, compassionate, open-minded, forgiving, and changeable. And that really has transformed my relationship with food, beverages, and substances. And why I say fluid, I used to have such a rigid relationship towards food. And not only I found did that keep me very much a prisoner, but it also caused me to be judgmental about others who didn't fit into my box of what I thought was the right way. So I've become more fluid towards it now. But however, I do really feel within myself that I have found a balance where I treat food as medicine. So, where do I begin on this story? So, as I did with my my video last week of how I transformed my mental health, let's start with the beginning, my relationship with food. So let's go back to a time where I did not view food as medicine, and as I've been thinking about this video, I always get taken back to when I was at uni. So this was like when I was like 20 years old, and my diet was like alcohol and cigarettes. I was like full-time smoker, drunk alcohol probably every day. I don't remember, but probably. And I wouldn't eat until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And then I would just be eating like a Burger King, honestly, a Burger King, cheap, addictive, sugary, fast food. And then I would just have like a rice packet and some chicken. Milkshakes, ice cream, all the sugary stuff. But because I was like not eating much, I would say my nervous system was just constantly on like, oh my god mode. But that was really what my food was like. Cheap, fast, convenient. It did not matter to me at all about the nutritional value of the food. It was just whatever I was craving, which was usually tied into a hangover. So that was uni life. And then after uni, I would say probably similar. I would eat a lot of like bread and cheese. Still drinking and smoking a lot. I was living in London. I would order so many takeouts. Like, I was totally addicted to Domino's pizza. And honestly, quite honestly now, the thought of that makes me feel very unwell. Yeah, so a lot of takeaways. I would eat a lot of meat as well. I don't really remember because I haven't eaten meat in such a long time, not consistently. So yeah, I think I was eating unconsciously. I was following my cravings. I've always had a very, very sweet tooth. I've always had a slight intolerance to dairy, whereas now I can eat little bits of dairy, but I feel straight away that it causes mucus, and I can feel that my joints get inflamed if I eat a lot of it, and it used to make me really nauseous. So yeah, basically, I didn't have any kind of conscious relationship about what I was consuming and how that was affecting me on any level. So I would say I just had a very unconscious relationship to food. And throughout this time, my weight yo-yoed a lot. I would go from being overweight, like I would say a few stones overweight, or a few dress sizes overweight, if you like. Sorry, I'm very English. I think we're the only country in the world that still says stones, not kilos. And then I would go like very underweight. I would yo-yo quite dramatically between the two. So I had an unhealthy relationship to food. I was either using it for comfort, or I was probably just not eating for whatever reason. So after that, I'm just trying to think of the turning point throughout. So not only experiencing weight fluctuations when I was younger. I mean, thank God now I do have beautiful skin. I do have quite uneven skin. I still have some pop marks on my skin because as a teenager, from quite an early teen, I had like clinical acne, serious acne. If only I knew then what I knew now about how food can affect your hormonal balance, it would have been a different story. So I had various health issues. I did struggle with my menstruation. It was incredibly painful, incredibly heavy. So there was a clear hormonal issues, and I struggled with depression. I struggled with fatigue, and this was the turning point for me. I had gone to the doctors and they tried certain things. I had been on different medications from about 12, 13 years old. That's when I had the really bad acne. So different medications and just trying different things that was suggested by the medical system. And it got to, I think it was around age 22, so pretty young. I just got totally fed up with suffering from chronic fatigue. That was the biggest issue for me. It was like chronic fatigue that just caused me to just not want to do anything, just to be completely like comatose and stay in bed all the time. And I was like, I actually just don't want to be like this anymore. And nothing that has been suggested to me by the doctors is actually supporting me. So yeah, I just started looking into food. Maybe it was divine intervention, I don't know. And I read this book. Let me just see if it's in grabbing distance. I still have it. Something that I read all this time ago called The Food Revolution. I must have looked it up and ordered it online. How your diet can help save your life and the world. And let me tell you, it changed my life. And you can see one of the reviews here said, nothing I've seen or read has been more important to my choice to eat consciously. And that is exactly how I felt. And at this time, I remember I had a job where I had to commute into the city in London, and I would be standing on the packed tube, just like consuming all the pages. I still have some of the pages turned over. And you know what was so impactful about this book is that I haven't read it again since, because I feel like it just changed. It blasted open my consciousness to the reality of the food system of our planet. So what this book spoke about was how grain is grown. There's a lot in there about GMOs and the chemical influence of a lot of the food that we eat, about the treatment of animals and how animals are actually given hormones. So when we eat animals that have been given hormones, we take in those hormones and it causes an imbalance within us, so on and so forth. So because of this, something clicked in my mind that was like, oh my goodness, I had no idea that this whole world existed. And I just started thinking about where my food came from and the journey that my food had been through before it gets to my plate, essentially. And that's huge. That's a huge part of our relationship with food, is actually being conscious of where this food has come from. Because what we consume, food and drinks, is our fuel. It's our fuel. And you don't want to put shitty fuel into this divine spirit vessel. So that was a huge wake-up call for me. So I was convinced that I had a gluten allergy, and after reading this book, I thought, okay, perhaps I am consuming too much meat, like a lot of red meat and chicken. So those were the two main things. And I had a friend at the time who was vegetarian, and she was like the only person that I knew who was vegetarian. So it was really awesome being around her. So I decided to try it. So I decided to cut out meat and gluten. So I went gluten-free, I cut out meat, and I would say about 6 weeks later, so it took about 6 weeks, I had a new lease of life. I got really slim, but like full of energy. So I was going to yoga classes and fitness classes and like going to the gym. I just had this new lease of life, this new lease of energy. So that was the beginning for me of this food relationship, of realizing like, wow, making choices about the food that I eat can completely change my health. So much has changed and evolved since then. But because I started feeling so amazing, I was like, okay, I'm just going to take this a step further and I'm going to go totally vegan. And I think I was blessed because this would have been about 13 years ago, 12, 13 years ago, when I made that choice to go fully plant-based. There were none of these like fake meat alternatives. Being vegan was like only for hippie communities or like very weird alternative people. So everything that I wanted to consume, I had to look up recipes and make all of the food myself. And this has played a very important role in my relationship to food, because in that time period when I chose to be plant-based, I was living with people who were not plant-based and didn't have any interest in it. So I had to make and prepare all of my food by scratch. So I learnt how to cook. And I learnt how to be a freaking great cook. And I learnt the magic of plants and vegetables. I learnt how to be creative with cooking. So again, that totally transformed my relationship with food, and even just like the love that I could pour into the food that I was creating. And I found that with a lot of plant-based foods, so good quality beans and tofu and even vegetables, I found that I wanted to go to organic shops or stores that supported more of a plant-based lifestyle. And again, that opened my mind to be like, wow, there's people out there who are also wanting to support their mind, body and spiritual health through the food that they consume. Just going to take another sip. So that was that. I was cooking all the time, creating all my food. And I feel that, you know, being fully plant-based may or may not be right for each individual. But what it did at the time for me was it limited the foods that I could consume, and therefore it cut out so much of the junk that I'd been consuming before. It brought everything down into this beautiful simplicity that really helped me, and it was none of the fake stuff. So it was no vegan alternatives, no meat alternatives. They didn't exist. They did not exist. So that was the start of my food journey. And that was like a long time period. So I was vegan, mainly vegan, sometimes vegetarian, for probably about 5-6 years. And then the next thing that I did, and a lot of people don't know this, but the first course that I ever did, so my first ever step that I took in wanting to study so that I could support others in the spiritual and the holistic community as a career, was I did a 2-year diploma in alternative medicine. And that completely opened up my perception even more. Like, that blew open the doors of perception, and I was like, oh my goodness, like everything that we are told in school, in society, is not wrong, but there is a whole nother multi-dimensional world of healing out there. Oh my goodness, like I was just mind blown. And through that studying, I realised that I could not only use food as medicine, but I could also use herbs, oils, changes in my lifestyle, changes in exercise, like all of these multidimensional tools that were natural and non-chemical I had at my disposal. So from that day, I stopped taking pharmaceutical medicine. This was in 2019. So how long ago is that? Like 7 years ago. And to this day, I still haven't used pharmaceutical medicine. In case of like absolute utter emergency, I have taken ibuprofen maybe like 3 times in 7 years. Other than that, everything else I have treated naturally and holistically. And then I realised that alcohol and cigarettes had to be the next thing to cut out. So yeah, I was sober for like 2 years, and then for whatever reason, those bad habits started creeping back in again. It's been a bit of an up and down journey, as I do have a background with addictions. But stopping that for a while made me really realise, like, wow, the effect of consuming alcohol, what that does to us as humans. So that was the next step. And then I would say the final step was to sort of get to where I am now, which I'll talk about soon. So remember, we've gone from like living off Burger Kings and packaged rice and alcohol and takeaways to now being like fully plant-based and no pharmaceutical medicines, just holistic healing. But then I still felt like there was something more. It still felt too restricted and constrained for me. I felt like, okay, there's got to be more to this. And I had the opportunity to work in partnership with an incredible superfood company, like a global superfood company, which I'm not partnershiped with anymore, but it was the most incredible experience working with them. And I learned all, like, in so much depth about the importance of organic and the real truth about how much chemical tampering is done to our food. So yeah, that really opened up my eyes. And as I mentioned earlier, I thought that I had a gluten intolerance when in actuality I had a chemical intolerance. So that took me down this path of exploration of alkaline foods. You can look up Dr. Sebi's alkaline list. So for an example of that, exchanging wheat for spelt, which is an ancient grain. And this was like mind-blowing for me because spelt tastes exactly like wheat, if not better. It has like a more of a nutty, earthy taste. It has gluten in it, but it doesn't have the chemicals because it's an ancient grain. And ancient grains are more wholesome and they're more bioavailable for your body to digest. So that was amazing, finding these swaps and like learning about food and learning about the foods that come naturally from the earth rather than foods that have been bioengineered, tampered with chemically. So that really opened up my mind. So I started ordering in boxes of fruits and vegetables from local farms, which actually now turns out to be cheaper than buying in the supermarkets, which is crazy. And another amazing thing about that is, well, there's multiple benefits. I'm supporting a farm, supporting organic farm, fruits and vegetables that are grown organically without chemicals and without pesticide interference. They're plastic free, huge, so we're protecting the earth. You just get this big box and they come all muddy and delicious. Yeah, and you're not supporting the big supermarket chains, and you're supporting your body, and the food tastes so much better. Like, you can taste the difference. So I started doing that. And then I recognised that, I kind of missed out a huge part here. So as a woman in a biologically female body, which I celebrate, I recognize that I am still in a stage of my life where I have big hormone cycles, and learning how to eat to support those fluctuations has also really supported me. So I would say like 15 days of the month, I eat more carbs, I eat 3 meals a day, and then for the other 15, I probably eat 2 meals a day. I eat super light and more protein heavy. And that really works for me. And it's just been this journey of getting to know my body. And for the last few years, I had a partner, and he was not plant-based. He ate a lot of meat, and I was influenced by that to start experimenting with eating meat and animal products again. And I'm actually glad that I did try that again, because the first time I ate meat after like 7 years of not eating it, I felt so violently sick. So that was a huge sign. But yeah, I really got to notice how it made me feel. And something that was interesting for me about, by the way, I have absolutely no judgment if you choose to eat meat, as long as you really, really believe that it makes your body feel good. Because for me, what I noticed about not eating it for so long and then going back to eating it was that it was addictive. And you have to be careful with eating meat because it has parasites, and you're also consuming the emotions and the energy of the animal. And when your energetic vibration is lowered, when the density of your body is lowered, then these addictive behavioral patterns can start creeping back in. And I really noticed that with eating meat. And I noticed that it made my body just feel like heavy. And so I stopped again. I stopped eating meat. And I just feel so much more lighter on my feet, more energized. And then one kind of recent swap, I would say, that I've realized is that so many plant-based alternatives are stuffed full of like rapeseed oil, really unhealthy seed oils and chemicals and strange things in there. So, for example, if I'm choosing between something, I will say, okay, which has the least ingredients? Which is earth-based? So I have an example for you. I was looking the other day at vegan butters, and like, I am not going to give up my sourdough with butter. And I was comparing plant-based ones, which either were just like rapeseed oil or sunflower seed oil, stuffed full of these unhealthy ingredients, compared to a unpasteurized grass-fed butter, which is just butter and nothing else. So I made the decision to go with the dairy because it didn't have any nasties in it, and if it's from an unpasteurized, so there's been no chemical processing. I think this one even had like good bacteria in it. It was grass-fed, so it's everything that I now purchase to consume. I go on this journey of questioning, okay, what are the ingredients? Do I know these ingredients? Are these ingredients that I want to put in my body? If I'm consuming something and I can't look at the ingredients, then I probably won't be consuming it. For example, like a Domino's. And then I'll just say, where has it come from? Has it come from an organic farm? What has been the journey and the process that this food has had to go through in order to get onto my plate? Because all of that energy from that journey and that process will be consumed by me, and therefore will start being a part of my cells and my DNA. So it's very, very important to really understand the journey of food. So what are my absolute no-nos? I feel like this is a good one. This is for me to share with you what I absolutely would not consume. I do not, and I have not for I don't even know how many years now. I do not order takeaways. I do not order takeout foods. I don't eat from fast food chains. I haven't eaten McDonald's in more than 15 years. I just do not eat fast food. If I do, I know that it's going to make me violently sick. And that's the beauty about retraining your body to a more whole food lifestyle, is that you start not wanting the food that is not going to support you in feeling high vibrational and full of energy. So it takes time, but your body will start working with you in partnership and being like, you don't want these foods anymore. So, takeaways and fast foods. No, no, no. Second of all, a huge one, seed oils. Seed oils. So I don't consume seed oils. I use fat oils. So that would be coconut oil, avocado oil, and olive oil. Those are the only oils that I consume. So no palm oil, no vegetable oils, none of those seed oils. Rapeseed oil, oh my goodness, they are like carcinogenic chemicals. So those are absolute no for me. What else? Okay, so also I really try to avoid sugar. So I will wholeheartedly admit that I have a chocolate addiction. However, I have changed my taste buds to only enjoy dark chocolate now. I used to love like milk chocolate and Cadbury's and all the sweet things like Kit Kats and Snickers. Now the thought of that just makes me like, ugh, too much. So again, I have retrained myself to like that deep, dark 90% chocolate. And I will always go for organic, make sure it has like cane sugar or coconut sugar or no sugar if possible. Very, very, very rarely, I'm talking like once a month, I might allow myself, like especially if I'm in that stage of my cycle where I'm craving comfort, I might allow myself to buy a cake in a shop. Again, I'll be mindful to make sure it's a beautiful small business. But generally speaking, I avoid sugar at all costs, apart from honey. Honey and dates are my sweet alternatives. And let me tell you, like, cutting out sugar, well, first of all, it's hard, and it's the same as coffee. If you're drinking coffee a lot, if you stop drinking coffee, you will get like the most terrifying migraine. And it's the same as sugar. And like weaning yourself off that will make you realize the poison that it is. Because sugar is so heavily processed. And it's same as like instant coffee. Again, if you are gonna consume these things, if you have the option, maybe try and go for something that has been created with love and with care and with high quality ingredients and less chemical processing. So yeah, sugar is a no-no. Absolutely no cast sugar, golden syrup, anything like that. As little as possible. Things like ice cream are really sneaky. They have so much sugar in them. So yeah, but occasionally it's okay. I mean, I love chocolate and sweet things, but I really do my best to just stick to the dark stuff or make things myself. I have some great recipes for sugar-free brownies, which are made with dates and honey, which are just like, the best thing ever. Absolute hell no for me is fizzy drinks. I haven't drunk a fizzy drink other than sparkling water. I haven't drunk a fizzy drink, I would say probably for like, again, 15 years or more. Those are just like the devil to me. Fizzy drinks, they are empty calories. Yeah, I would say stimulants like coffee, cigarettes, and alcohol. I obviously am sitting here drinking a coffee, but I like to make my own filter coffee with really high quality coffee that's organically grown. I really like to support companies that are owned by women and small businesses. I drink it with organic almond milk, and it doesn't have like, when you buy a coffee in a shop, it's like this much milk and this much coffee, but I do it the other way round. So it's just being mindful of what it is that you're consuming. Sadly, something that you have to be really mindful of is plant-based alternatives. So I've spoken about the plant-based butter with all the oils that it has in, but also the plant-based milks. Here in the UK, there's this really great brand called Plenish, which is literally 2 ingredients. It's the plant-based alternative, for example, almonds with water. But if you look at some of the bigger brands like Oatly, for example, which blew up in like 2020, full of seed oils or sunflower oil and other like nasty chemicals and added vitamins, and it's just like, you just don't want to be putting that in your body. Something to be aware of. The fake meats, the plant-based alternatives, like I don't eat meat, but honestly I actually feel I would prefer to eat an organic grass-fed steak than a plant-based alternative, which is essentially lab made and just a cocktail of chemicals. I always say, if you read ingredients and you don't know what the ingredients are, don't put that into your body. It's like someone coming up to you and being like, hey, do you want to try this drug? I don't know what it is and I don't know how it will make you feel, but so yeah. That is my suggestion. I know that I have eaten some of these plant-based alternatives in my time, and I get like a headache, or I get this horrible taste like coming up for many days afterwards. So that's never good. Something that is worth mentioning as well is tap water. Tap water is laden with fluoride, which can actually calcify your pineal gland, which can stop you from actually opening up your mind and having freedom of thinking. I have this triple filtration system in my house, which removes fluoride and other chemicals, and then it remineralizes the water. Ideally, you want to be drinking water that comes straight from a natural spring, which is one of my goals, to live somewhere with that option. But yeah, tap water is a big no-no. Big no-no. And for me now, like if someone gives me a glass of tap water, I'm just like, no. I can taste it, I can smell it straight away. Okay, what else is on the no list? We have had fast foods and takeaways, seed oils, we have had sugar, we have had fizzy drinks, stimulators like alcohol, cigarettes, and coffee in moderation. Also, alcohol is a funny one for me, okay, because I know when I consume alcohol, I can feel my vibration dropping. Now, in some circumstances, that might not be a bad thing. That might be a circumstance where you actually need to lower your vibration. However, what we have to be really mindful of is when we are consuming substances like fast food, like a lot of meat, like alcohol, we are lowering the density of our vibration, which in some level is basically sending out this signal to low vibration beings and influences saying, hey, I'm here for you to come and influence me. So this is how we have to be mindful, because say, for example, if we have a glass of wine, not the end of the world. But then what might happen is when we lower that vibration, an influence could creep in to then be like, oh, we can have one again. And the same with the fast food, and the same with eating meat. And I really found this with meat. I started craving it, but not in a way that was coming from my body. It was a mental craving. And this is what happens when we lower our vibration, because mind-body is connected. The mind and the body are one. They are connected. When we lower our vibration, energy and influences can come and start infiltrating our mind. So if there is, for example, a day when I'm meeting up with friends and we want to go out for a meal and have a treat, I'm not going to stop myself, but what I will say is the intention is so important. So I will say to myself, I'm going to do this and I'm going to really enjoy and relish every taste of this meal. But I'm going to wake up the next day and I'm going to go back to consuming my healthy lifestyle. Speaking those intentions are super important, and knowing why you are consuming certain things. And what I found that adopting like an 80-20% really helps, because if you tip the scales to 80% of your life consuming beautiful, nourishing, life-giving food, it won't matter if that 20% happens where you have a cake or you drink a glass of wine or you have a burger or whatever it is, because your natural tendency is always going to flip back to craving that high vibration, high energy experience of eating the food that is nourishing your vessel. So yeah. Maybe I should talk about what I eat on a day-to-day basis. So the only drink I consume other than coffee, cacao or matcha. I love hot drinks, and I live in England, it's cold here, so I do love a hot drink. Other than that, all I drink is water, and I love to drink a glass of water with Himalayan salt and lemon juice as soon as I wake up. And I drink a glass of water that's this big, so this is like a pint of water as soon as I wake up. And I take chlorella and I take kelp, so those are sea minerals, and they have like almost 100 different minerals that the body needs. So I'm flushing my body with that as soon as I wake up. I wait a few hours at least until I eat something. And I eat coconut yogurt with banana and berries and nuts and seeds. That's my breakfast. Depending on my cycle, I either eat lunch or I skip lunch. If I'm skipping lunch, I'll have like an apple and some peanut butter as a snack. If I eat lunch, I will have a piece of rye bread or spelt sourdough with a couple of eggs, an avocado and some live sprouts. And then for dinner, I usually have like sweet potato, and I'll make like a coconut curry, really spicy, with chickpeas and loads of vegetables, or I'll have gluten-free pasta with mushrooms. I just try and mix it up. So I try to be gluten-free as much as possible. I eat loads of sweet potato, try and eat sweet potato rather than white potato. And yeah, I try and only eat carbs if I'm eating carbs like once a day, and I stick to more proteins. And I eat eggs now. I never used to. I eat eggs because I just feel like they give me that wholesome protein that I need, and they make me feel good. Eggs make me feel good. I don't feel like I'm eating dairy, and I don't feel like I'm eating meat. So I don't drink milk, cow's milk. On a very, very, very rare occasion, I will eat cheese, and I try to eat like goat or sheep's cheese, like feta cheese or manchego. And I do eat butter. That's probably the one dairy product that I eat. I don't eat yogurt. I eat coconut yogurt, which is plant-based. Yeah, and I don't eat meat. Now, the only meat that I very rarely sometimes consume if I feel like I need that extra nourishment would be fish. I really like wild salmon. But apart from that, I feel really nourished and thriving on a predominantly plant-based diet. I do consume supplements, and again, as a woman, these kind of change throughout the month for my cycle. But with my breakfast, I have a scoop of superfood protein, which has things like ashwagandha, biotics in it, all different things. So I try and, stuff as much into my meals as possible. So, that's that, to be honest. And if I want like a sweet treat, I have dates, I have dried mangoes. Yeah, I really just try and stick with fruit, or as I said, dark chocolate, like 90% chocolate. And generally, that satisfies me. So that is my relationship with food, but I'm definitely a lot less rigid than I used to be. So if I go out and I'll have like a roast dinner, if it's got cheese or something in it, I will eat it. I won't be like, I can't do that. So yeah, I mean, generally, like I haven't drunk or consumed any alcohol in almost 5 months now, and I feel great. I don't plan on drinking it. I have been, as I mentioned, sober for 2 years before. So just the cleaner I am, honestly, the better I feel. But I am very active, so I am mindful that I need to eat enough to keep me energized. And I am one of those people that if I'm not eating enough, like I really just don't feel good. Like diets don't work for me. If I'm hungry, I eat. I listen to my body. And if I don't feel hungry, then I won't eat. What else was I going to say? I feel like I had something really important to finish this conversation with. Oh, yes. Okay, so I never, ever weigh myself. I have not weighed myself. I have no idea the last time, probably in my 20s. Haven't weighed myself. I don't weigh myself. I don't care how much I weigh. What I do allow myself to be mindful of is how I feel energetically, how I feel when I'm exercising, how I feel when I wake up in the morning. Of course, that fluctuates because of my hormones, because of my cycles. I take note of how I feel when I put certain clothes on, but I do not weigh myself. I feel like for me that is a trap to make us beat ourselves up, and it can make us yo-yo. I view food as medicine, and I view my body as a divine temple which I want to give offerings of blessings through nourishing, wholesome food that is not only supporting me and my health, but that is supporting Mother Earth with less plastic, less chemicals, and less production. Those are what's important to me. So I hope that was helpful for you. And if you have any more specific questions on this, please feel free to ask them in the comments. I will always answer your questions. And so much love to you. Let me know where you are at on your journey with food.